Point of Impact podcast with Rick McDaniel. Thanks for joining us today. Get ready to be inspired and motivated to live a high-impact life. Now, here's Rick.
Welcome to the Point of Impact podcast. I'm Rick McDaniel. It's great to have you joining us again today. These are some challenging times we're in, and what's taken place in Israel, just absolutely awful and terrible. And between the time that I record this and the time that this gets published and you're listening to it, who knows what other events will have taken place, but we certainly are praying for the people of Israel and the family members, those who've lost loved ones in some of the most horrific ways you possibly could, as well as those that are still holding on the hope for their loved ones that are hostages. And the Bible tells us to pray for the peace of Jerusalem, so that seems like a wise thing for us to do anytime, let alone in a time like this. And I would encourage you to follow my social media on X, or what used to be Twitter, at Rick McDaniel. Instagram, it's Rick McDaniel _official. And on Facebook, it's Rick McDaniel HIL. Where I'll have more stuff that I can, you might be able to read or to see. So just want to start with that before we get into talking about what we're going to talk about today. Just kind of have to be able to do that. And I would just encourage you to really be praying for and lifting folks up in this whole situation, because it's just terrible in so many ways. And after the Holocaust, and you just think that, I always think, how I've been to Dachau, I've been to concentration camp, and like, how could this have ever happened? How could human beings do this to other fellow human beings? And you just think, oh, that'll never happen again. And then something like this happens, certainly not over a period of time. The circumstances aren't the same, but the result, and I mean, wow. So it's certainly distressing and concerning on so many levels. So let's just be in prayer about that. I would also just encourage you to continue rickmcdaniel.com. That's just the best place to go. If you didn't catch some of those social media handles, all that's there, as well as lots of other stuff that you can take advantage of. You may remember 2 weeks ago, I did an episode on 10 negative expressions we need to stop saying to ourselves. And then after I did that, I was just thinking more and more about it, and realizing, even though I ended that episode with 5 positive affirmations to say, I started thinking, there are positive expressions. In fact, there are more positive expressions than negative expressions. I believe, at least in my mind, that I can come up with, that we should be saying to ourselves. And I thought I should do an episode, 15 positive expressions to start saying to ourselves. These are statements that I say to myself all the time, just like I mentioned in the negative expressions, ones that I just don't want to participate in, don't want to say those things. These are the positive ones. And, psychologists have something they call your explanatory style. It's how you explain what happens to you in life. And you can have a pessimistic or an optimistic explanatory style. I mean, it just comes down to that. And, positive thoughts bring positive results. Negative thoughts bring negative outcomes. They call that the law of attraction. I mean, when you're feeling good and positive, then more positivity floats to you. It comes to you. When you're down in the dumps and your woe is me, pity party, then it's harder to break the pattern in negativity. I mean, that's it. So 2 weeks ago, I'm like, let's get these negative expressions out of our vocabulary. Absolutely. But let's get the positive ones in, positive thinking, positive attitude, positive mindset. However, whatever you want to call it. My alma mater, Duke University's done research on this as well as others, but here you go. Just right off the bat, you handle stress better. You have better coping skills. You have enhanced mental health. You have greater resistance to the common cold. I never get sick. I never have a cold. My wife's had a cold, then she actually got another one, and she's like, you never get sick, and you're right next to me. Yeah, even with your germs. My wife, some of you know, you should go back and listen to these episodes, why I never got COVID, even though I traveled, I'm up to something like 9 countries, 17 states, multiple flights on airlines, restaurants, gym, never stopped anything, never changed. My life never changed during the pandemic, never had COVID ever. Greater resistance to the common cold, increased physical well-being, longer lifespan. Here's one from Duke. Make more money. Positive people, positive mindset, positive attitude, positive outlook people make more money. Lower rates of depression. Sure, of course. Reduce risk of cardiovascular disease. I mean, that is quite a list. What is that? 7 or 8 things that I mentioned. I mean, you ought to just be sold. I'm going to do it, man. I've got to adopt this way of thinking, this mindset, because look at what it has done for my life. Look at all the positive benefits that could be coming my way, or already are if you already have this mindset. And if not, look at what could be coming my way. I would just again say to you, on the Bible app, the YouVersion Bible app, largest one in the world, gigantic, I have a 5-day plan called Mindset Matters. Just go on there and hit the search button, type in Mindset Matters, and you can start that. That'll help you. That's one direction. But let's spend today's episode on these 15 expressions to start saying to ourselves. If you say some of them, keep saying them to yourselves. But man, I tell you, I'm excited about this because this will change you. It absolutely will change you. All right, here we go. First one, I get to. As opposed to, I have to. I get to go to work today. I have a job. What a blessing that is. I get to work out and stay healthy and be able to be strong and live long and enjoy my life. Now, I get to go out on a date with my spouse, my husband or wife. Not I have to. We got to do this to keep the relationship, strong. And there's such a negative mind, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to do this. And just changing it to, I get to. But just start your day. Just say, I get to. I get to do these things. And you say, yeah, but what about traffic, Rick? Yeah, what about traffic? Well, you still have a job. And the job creates money for you, and that provides for you and your family and allows you to do all these things and be without a job, and all of a sudden you might have a different perspective. Well, let's not go without a job. Let's just have this expression, I get to. I get to. I get to do this. I get to do that. I'm fortunate to be able to do it. I don't have to. I get to. Here's another one. I can do it. This is based on Philippians 4:13 in the Bible. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I can do it. That's a phrase you should say. Not I can't do it. I can do it. Have a can-do attitude. And this is an expression you should hear yourself saying, I can do it. I can do it. It's challenging, but I can do it. It's hard, but I can do it. There's an obstacle, but I can do it. And just saying this over and over again to yourself makes an incredible difference in your life. Don't say, I can't do it. If you hear yourself saying can't, stop yourself and say, I can. I can do it. Here's another one. When one door closes, the next one opens. Just because there's an obstacle, I was just talking about obstacle, right? Just because there's an obstacle in the way, just because there's a barrier in the way of your goal right now, doesn't mean that it won't move, or that a new door will open, a new open door of opportunity. So this is the nature of life, is seasons and transitions. This is it. Endings are not bad things, by the way. They're appropriate. They're necessary. Henry Cloud wrote this book, Necessary Endings. Great book if you want to delve into it more. There's things close and then new doors open. So just have that kind of attitude. Not, oh my gosh, oh, this is terrible. Woe is me. My life is over. Everything stinks. No. One door closes and a new door opens. And of course, the new door could be better, but you never get to the new door because you're too stuck on the closed door. Here's another one. A problem is an opportunity. Yes. In corporate world, they sometimes want to rephrase problems as challenges, which, I love that, It's a challenge. That's what it is. It's a challenge. Now, I'm going to spend an entire set of episodes talking about problems, so get ready for that. That's coming. But if you have a problem, then look on the affirmative side and say, all right, how can I fix this? While working through the problem or shortly after you fix it, many times is when new opportunities present themselves. Can you see the opportunity? Can you seize the opportunity? It's one of my famous messages. Seeing an opportunity and seizing an opportunity. It's what it's all about. The Bible, again, Ephesians 5:15, make the most of every opportunity. So instead of seeing problems as hindering you, say this is a problem that can lead to an opportunity. It's this challenge that needs to be overcome, and I can overcome it. All right, here's one, said it many times, believe it with all my heart. Tough times never last, tough people do. Working through something difficult allows you to gain new problem-solving skills, coping skills, stress management skills, and of course, ultimately, it grows you and develops you. We'll talk more about that here in a moment. Tough times never last, tough people do. I'll never forget, I was sitting in my office. Across the desk from me was this big tatted up biker guy, and I was talking to him because he was in trouble with the law again and alcohol and all these things. And I said to him, listen, you may be physically tough, but you're mentally weak. He popped out of the chair and started to come across my desk, and then he stopped and he looked at me and kind of snarled, and he said, "You're right. I hate to say it, but you're right. My mental toughness does not equal my physical toughness." And when I talk about tough times never last, I mean, I believe in physical toughness, and I realize maybe for everyone that's not possible, but for me, it's important to be able to be physically tough. That's the kind of way I came up. You come up through football and sports and all those things. I mean, that's going to happen. But everyone needs to be mentally tough, and tough times never last, and tough people do. You need to be mentally tough, mentally strong, so that you can work through the challenges of life. All right, here's another one. You lose or you learn. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. That's a fact. So it's so important to say, I want to win. I love to win. Winning is great. No doubt about it. And I'm all for that. Believe me, I absolutely positively am. I mean, I am a super competitive person, and I love to win in everything that I do. I love my teams to win. And, winning makes you happy. There's no denying that. And anyone that tells you different, this participation foolishness and all this stuff, it's laughable. It's not even hardly worth my time to even try to get into that. The winning is fun. It is fun. But if you lose, and everybody loses, you can learn. You can learn. And that is very valuable, to learn what you can learn out of the loss and out of the defeat. So then you say, you win some, you lose some, but even the ones I lose, I actually still win because I learn from it. I don't just walk away with nothing. And that helps me to win the next time, and I'm able to do better the next time because of that. And so that's the kind of mentality to have in your mind. Here's another one. Success is many times preceded by failure. You take a risk and it doesn't work and you fail. But people with, again, the right positive mindset know that it's about rising when you fall until you finally succeed. Try again. I mean, some of these things, they're not all that new. They're just, maybe I'm repackaging them to a certain extent. But the bottom line in all this is just that, listen, life is full of failures, and you try things, they don't always work. But they can be feedback for you. You can fail forward. You absolutely can fail forward. You fail forward enough times, you can fail your way right into success. I mean, that's just an absolute truth. So failure, again, I've talked about this in previous episodes in great detail. So I'm not going to devote too much time, because you can go back and listen to episodes where I spent an entire episode talking about failure and success and all those. The success, I've talked more, over 150 plus episodes about success than any other theme. And I've talked about happiness and stress and, many other decisions, many other topics and themes, influence, on and on and on it goes. But more than anything, success, you can find many different episodes that'll address that. All right, here's another one. My perception of my life, not my circumstance, determine my happiness. Circumstances come and go. Sometimes it's good, sometimes not so good. But how you perceive those circumstances ultimately determines how happy you're going to be. So if your happiness is based on your circumstances, it's going to affect it. Now, there are those who would argue, especially in Christian circles, that this is where the difference is between happiness and joy. Joy is something that you can always have, because joy is based on the fact that God has a plan for your life and God is always at work. And so you can be joyful knowing He's working things out for your good, whereas happiness is more dependent on circumstances. Absolutely don't argue with that at all. That's absolutely correct way of understanding the difference between joy and happiness. All I'm saying here in terms of, your perception determines your happiness is simply really to kind of merge, in this particular case, a proper understanding of joy with a more, say, secular or current contemporary understanding of happiness. Just simply to say that your happiness is not dependent on your circumstances. Your happiness is, in fact, dependent on your perception of what is taking place in your life. And if you believe that things are working for you, that God has a plan, then you can just be happy, even if temporary circumstances aren't exactly the way you want them to be. Here's another one. Don't take it personal. And being able to shrug things off, including how someone, sort of treats you. It's important. People, you can experience people in ways that aren't very pleasant. Their behavior isn't the greatest. And even if it upsets you the way they're treating you, and there's nothing wrong with that, because you should not have to take being mistreated. Taking it personally usually ends up with you being more upset than you need to be. And I used to say to my staff all the time, don't take it personal. And this is the story that I would tell them. If you're in the middle of a battle and bullets are flying, you don't just stand up and say, why are you shooting at me? They're shooting because you're in a battle, and life has a lot of battles. There's a lot of battles going on, and right now we're seeing it right in front of us. The ultimate existential battle between good and evil. Good and evil. We've seen incredible evil displayed, and so evil has to be defeated and good has to triumph. So this is just a good way to say, I'm not going to take it personally. because it's a battle, it's a war, and in the middle of that, things happen. And so I'm going to be able to see it from that kind of perspective, the perspective of someone who says, yeah, I'm in a battle. And in a battle, bullets fly and stuff happens, and I'm not going to take it personally. And I also think, if you just want to expand it just a bit here, a couple other things would be just like, people meant well. Like sometimes people mean well, and then just the way they say it or do it is just messed up. By the way, we do the same thing. So before we point at other people, their heart's in the right place, but they sort of mess it up on the delivery. And another is just really trying to put yourself in other people's shoes, and hurting people hurt people, man. I've said it for years. Hurting people hurt people. People that are hurting end up hurting other people. And really, it's not really you. You just are, unfortunately, the person who's there at the time that is on the receiving end. But people are hurting, and they just kind of, verbally vomit all over you, or in other ways do things that are hurtful. And again, I'm not saying that you just say, well, someone can treat me however I want, but just understand that really you'd be surprised the things people are going through we don't know anything about, and then they act in ways that aren't pleasant. Just don't take it personal, and just move on with your life, and don't get more upset than you need to be and take away your happiness. Here's another one. When I give, I receive. This is what the Bible says. It's more blessed to give than to receive. So, when you just, when you're willing to give, it's amazing what happens. It's really amazing, that you can really see some amazing things when you just have a kind of abundance mentality, a generosity mindset. And you think in terms of, I'm going to be on the giving side, and I will receive in all kinds of ways, all kinds of ways. I will be on the receiving end of all kinds of blessings that will come my way. Everything happens for a reason. In other words, life happens. Doesn't always go as planned, but what good does it do you to, waste your time and get yourself upset being negative about it? And again, this is really something for you. It's not, great to say to somebody else, they're going through something. Everything happens for a reason. Just say it to yourself. These are statements you say to yourself about your own particular reason. The Bible says it this way: all things work together for good for those that love God and are called according to his purpose. So you love God, you love the Lord, you love Jesus, and God calls you for a purpose in your life, and he can take even bad things and make them into good things. He is the expert at turning a tragedy into a triumph. He has a way of taking bad and making good. He has a way of taking death and bringing about a resurrection. This is what the Lord does. This is what he specializes in doing. And we're so fortunate and blessed that we are on the receiving end of it. All right, here's another one. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? It's been around forever. Kelly Clarkson then sang the song. But can't come out on top all the time, but, hey, you're still alive. I have said this phrase so many times in my life: nobody died. Now, that doesn't always work. When my mom died, I was like, well, this is really tough, and I can't say that now. So there are exceptions. Obviously, there are real losses. But in comparison with all the things that can happen, most of the time, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Oh, and another way of saying that, or another way to think of it is, this is bad, this is tough, this is difficult, but nobody died. And when you look at the circumstance of people that not only lost loved ones, but lost them in some of the most horrific and brutal and just horrible, grotesque, unacceptable ways, you can say, you know what? Okay, I'm going to get stronger. I'm going to go through this. I'm going to come out on the other side of it, and I'm going to be stronger because of it. Now, this next one, we can say, it's not about the results, it's about the effort. And yes, it's not about the results, it's about the effort. I have one of my phrases, impact over outcome. Focus on impact over outcome. Same kind of thing. So it's not about the results, about the effort. Effort will ultimately leads to success. Results, they sometimes don't lead to more success, but effort will lead to more success. Sometimes, you can just feel good about the effort that you put into something. Impact over outcome. Why? Because impact you can control, outcome you can't. I mean, you can do a lot of things right and still end up not getting the right impact. It happens. And you just have to be able to say, I put in the effort, and it's not about the results. I can't control everything. The part that I can control, I gave my best effort, and the impact was outstanding. The outcome, there's, it's just always amazing. You can talk about this in business, church, sports, where you just look around and you go, something isn't right. These people are winning, they're growing, they're succeeding, and we're not, and what we do is better. And if you've had a chance to travel around like I have and see a lot, believe me, it is amazing. I would just look at things that there's no way these people are going to win. There's no way they're going to grow. It's just not going to be successful. And then somehow, amazingly, it ends up because God can just bless anything, and then it happens. And then other people, you go, man, this really looks good. They're doing all the right stuff. You would expect better results than what they're getting. But you know what? It can still happen. It can still happen. All right, back to failure. Just another way of looking at it. I embrace failures as gifts for growth. When you have a positive outlook, then, you just say, okay, there's life lessons here to be learned. I want to grow. I want to have a growth mindset. And part of having a growth mindset is just embracing the losses and just being able to say, I'm on a path. I'm on the right path. I'm going to get there. And getting there involves having to experience some things that I would prefer not to experience, but they will ultimately help me to grow and become the person that God created me to be, and I can ultimately live out my purpose for this life that I've been given. So I talked about this several different ways in these 15 because this is a big one, and so I want to try to flesh it out in a few different ways and kind of have some phrases you can say to yourself. And then this is the final one, number 15. Life's not fair, but God is good. It's true. There's highs and there's lows in life. There are things that happen, again, going back to impact and outcome, failures, all this stuff, just things that happen. You're like, how did we lose? How did that not work? Why is this happening? This isn't fair. This person over here gets it. I don't. This thing works. This doesn't. And you know what? You can make a case for it. You can make a case for it. And things are just, you can't always win. You're not always going to be happy about things, but life might not be fair. And by the way, Jesus never taught that life was fair. He told the story, the tower fell on the people whose fault was it? It's nobody's fault. Life's not fair, but God's goodness is a reality. And even if you don't experience it over here, you'll experience it over here. And of course, this is why gratitude's so important, because you spend enough time really pondering these things and you realize, wow, God's goodness is here, there, over there, oh yeah, here, there. It's so many places. We focus on the one thing that's unfair, or the two things that are unfair, and you miss 100 blessings and goodness of God in our lives. So that's why it's important to say, it's not fair, but God's good, and God's going to take care of me and bless me and care for me. Now here's 15. Let these phrases become a part of your mindset. Let them run over in your mind, whether you say them out loud or say them in your head. This is the way to go, friends. Stop saying the negative ones. Start saying these positive ones. It'll bless your life. Have a great week.
You've been listening to the Point of Impact podcast with Rick McDaniel. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to you joining us for our next episode.